Hey, shalom everybody. This is Chris Shoemaker, also known as Yehuda ben Shomer. Welcome to the Ponderings of the Perkei Avot. Today we're in chapter 1 and verse 14 where it reads, "If I am not for myself, who is for me? And if I am only for myself, then what am I?" And that's Perkei Avot 1:14. If I am not for myself, who is for me? Well, we know that the scripture says that if God is for us, who can be against us? And we know that God is always for us. And that would tempt us many times to rely on God a little too much by depending on miracles as if he's some kind of superhero that comes to the rescue at the last minute, or he's some kind of genie in the bottle. And if we're in a situation where we're totally clueless and helpless and we don't know what to do, yeah, he's going to do what we can't do. But many times we call out to him prematurely, just like somebody calling on 911 when there's really not an emergency, you know? I mean, I even heard a ridiculous story about a woman who called 911 because her manicurist painted her nail the wrong color. Or somebody goes in and calls 911 because they're in a bathroom stall and they call because the person previous to them didn't flush the toilet. I mean, really, those aren't emergencies. So sometimes we ask God to do things and we rely on God in such a way where we want him to come and rescue us and perform a miracle when there's actually something that we can do for ourselves. And we need to exhaust all of our resources and do what we can do, and whatever we lack, whatever we can't do, God will do, and God will give the increase, and that's where he gets the glory, right? So if I am not for myself, who is for me? We can't, you know, there's no good help these days. You've heard that saying. And, you know, if I want to do something right, or if I want something done right, I need to do it myself. And many times that's true. There's very few people that we can truly depend on. And even those people that we can truly depend on, it's still not 100%. They're human beings. Because they're human and they're frail, they're going to fail us and let us down at one point in time or another. So we've got to be for ourselves. We've got to defend ourselves. We've got to stick up for ourselves. And not saying that we've got to put ourselves first or be more important than somebody else. And then it says, if I am only for myself, see, that's the balance. What am I? You know, we can't be selfish. We can't just be totally for ourselves and just be out for number one. We've got to look out for the other guy too, because who's looking out for him? But, you know, it's kind of like the situation in an airplane where the stewardess is given the pre-flight instructions, and she says, in the event we lose cabin pressure, you know, an oxygen mask will drop from the top. Make sure you pull it to the full extent of the elastic tubing, put it on your face and breathe normally. Put it on, you know, for yourself before you help somebody else. Seems a little selfish. Why does she say that? Because if you're losing cabin pressure, you could pass out. So if you don't put it on first, you could pass out before you can help somebody else, or you could pass out in the process of helping somebody else, and you're not guaranteed that that person's going to help you. So you've got to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you're able to help somebody else, because you don't want to pass out. So this is kind of what it's saying. If I am only for myself, what am I? Thinking back to Israel, back in the time of the Maccabees, they were so zealous for God's Torah, for his laws and instructions, that they wouldn't desecrate the Sabbath by doing warfare on the Sabbath. The enemy knew this, so they would attack on Sabbath or high holy days and end up wiping out an entire village, because the Jewish people of that village would be passive and not want to desecrate the Sabbath or go against God's laws. But the Maccabees came along and saw this slaughtered village, and they're like, we can't continue this practice. If they attack on the Sabbath, we've got to defend ourselves on the Sabbath. And if you look throughout history, the Yom Kippur War, the 7-Day War, and all these modern wars that Israel's fought, a lot of them happened on Sabbath or high holy days. And they had to fight whether they wanted to or not. And they weren't desecrating the Sabbath. They were being for themselves. They were defending themselves to ensure that they can keep the commandments in the future. And they were always outnumbered. You had all these surrounding nations attacking Israel, and they just had this little small nation about the size of New Jersey and a small army. But each time they were able to defend themselves against innumerable odds and against superior weaponry of the other side and superior numbers and military personnel on the other side. And God performed a miracle and came through them. So if we defend ourselves, stick up for ourselves, do what we can, God is ensured that he's going to come and do the rest. So that's all the time we have for today for the Ponderings of the Perkei Avot. Thanks for watching. Shalom, Shavua Tov.